Hi, I'm Presentatiom, and this is my presentation for Polls 2. I'm going to go ahead and read the statement, and then we can continue on with the slideshow. I verified that my online PowerPoint submission in Polls 2 contains my own original work with appropriate citations and complies fully with the Shasta College plagiarism rules and conducts specifications as found in the course syllabus. I accept that any significant suspicion or probable instance of non-original, uncited, or copy-paste plagiarized content will result in a 0 score and referral to the Dean of Instruction. So getting that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next slide. So for my topic, I chose the controversial issue of abortion. So let's get started. The conflicts relating to abortion in the United States by Presentatiom. And for reference, as you see, I have the citation at the bottom of the picture, and I'm going to go ahead and do that throughout the entire slideshow, but the citations can also be found on my works cited slides at the end of the presentation. Okay, so why does abortion matter? Abortion should be legalized and left for the mother to decide. However, there are still conflicting effects of abortion to consider. These being health issues related to abortion, equal rights and women's rights, religious factors, and of course the infamous pro-life versus pro-choice. So for analysis and context, abortion has been performed for thousands of years. You see we have our sites sorted also on the works cited page. And for a little more in-depth context, abortions were made legal in the United States in a landmark and controversial 1973 Supreme Court judgment, often referred to as the Roe v. Wade case. So that is the start. I wouldn't say that is the specific start, but that is the first controversial movement that took place with abortion. And in the mid to late 1800s, this is going way back, states began passing laws that made abortion illegal because most of them thought it was unjust and very dangerous. So, as stated previously, abortion became legalized in 1973 in the Roe v. Wade case. And that has basically been one of the largest movements for pro-abortion that has happened to this day. And what we're discussing today is the argument of pro-life versus pro-choice, which even though abortion is legalized, a lot of people are fighting to make it illegal once again. So, why are people for it? And this is the pros of abortion. So, many people believe that unprepared mothers are obviously unprepared to take care of their children, so they think it's best to terminate the pregnancy. In addition to unprepared mothers, there are situations such as rape, incest, economic status, career restraints, social pressure, pre-existing medical conditions, and drugs. So, for a little more context, over the years, abortion has been stigmatized by those who view it as the least desirable or a completely unacceptable reproductive option. It is critical not to give in to the pressure to stigmatize abortion as the only invalid reproductive choice among all the options facing a pregnant woman. Since the 1973 Roe v. Wade decision, abortion has become one of the safest medical procedures in the country. By keeping abortion legal, we help protect the lives and safety of women facing unplanned pregnancies. So the argument for the pro-choice side is that without abortion, a lot of mothers are going to turn to more dangerous ways to terminate pregnancy, and we'll discuss that later on in the presentation, known as back alley abortions. And so that is one of the main conditions that everybody supports for pro-choice. So moving on. Now, of course, why are people against it? So we obviously have religion, and a lot of people think that having an abortion is considered taking a life, and while there is scientific evidence behind that, it's not necessarily taking an actual human's life. It's more like ending the development of a fetus. Another reason people are against it is the option for adoption. A lot of people want to adopt kids nowadays because they're unable to have children, and so taking those kids away from the adoption systems makes it a little harder for people to adopt. Another reason is abortion can be harmful to the mothers, and that was cited by a doctor named Paul Sanders. And he says that this can cause blood clots, tearing in the uterine wall, hemorrhaging, all sorts of harmful things to the mother. So that's understandable on that part. And of course, the social stigma. So we're going to go ahead and break it down. So we're breaking down the pro-choice side right now. As of 2017, 862,320 legal abortions were performed, and over 1 million unsafe abortions yearly are performed. And that is due to some of the factors I mentioned beforehand: social stigma, peer pressure, family problems, things like that. And then 22,800 deaths were caused by abortions, and that's not the babies, that's actually the mothers. And as I mentioned previously, we have social stigmas, age factors. So say a 16-year-old goes and accidentally gets pregnant, and she doesn't want anyone in her school or her family to find out, so her best bet is to go and get an abortion. And it's also very common for people to get abortions due to pre-existing medical conditions or medical conditions caused by the pregnancy itself. So now we're going to break down pro-life. As stated in the previous slide, 22,800 women die after an abortion. Also stated previously, families' ability to adopt is hindered by the act of an abortion. And once again, we have religious factors for, say, Catholics, Catholicism, Mormons, everything under the sun that says abortions is wrong because it is considered taking a life. And that also falls under the moral standpoints. So just quickly, as you see here, we have a picture, and that is the pregnancy timeline starting from 1 to 40 weeks, and this is the fetus development timeline starting from 1 to 36 weeks. People typically get an abortion anywhere from 4 to 24 weeks. Rare exceptions for abortions can be made, meaning if you need an abortion after 24 weeks, it's a very rare situation that occurs. So health risks that we were talking about are pre-existing conditions such as like heart disease, anything like that, AIDS, STIs, hemorrhaging, which is basically bleeding out. Sepsis is a infection of the blood. Failure to terminate the pregnancy, which is very rare, but it does happen. The abortion does not get all of the fetus, so it continues to grow. And blood clots. So I cited everything from the doctor I was talking about previously. So there's the citation. Now here we have the health benefits. A lot of people believe that it is beneficial for younger women to get an abortion due to the physical effects that can happen to the body. Emotional, that's pretty self-explanatory. A lot of emotions are going through a person's head when they're pregnant: depression, anxiety, things of that nature. And finally, we have reached the back alley butchers, as I discussed earlier. This is where abortions were not legalized yet, so people would go in and basically do the abortion themselves. A lot of people know that as the coat hanger abortions and back alley butchers. And the health benefit for this to go through with an abortion is if it prevents harm to the mother. So final facts, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Abortion in California was legalized in 1967. In 1973, only 36% of abortions were performed at or before 8 weeks of pregnancy, and that's from the CDC. Today, 91.4% of all legal abortions are performed within the first 13 weeks of pregnancy, and 64.5% take place within the first 8 weeks of pregnancy. Only 1.4% occur at or after 21 weeks, and that's also from the CDC. And deaths from abortion has declined dramatically during the past 3 decades. So, in conclusion, while there are valid arguments for both sides, it should remain the mother's decision to terminate a pregnancy, and I believe this is the cause because obviously we have equality, women's rights that have always been questioned as our society begins to develop, and, of course, health problems. While it is a huge deal to go through with an abortion, if the mother knows what she's getting herself into, it should inevitably be her decision. So now I'm just going to go ahead and let the slides play for my works cited.